The first 2 weeks were just mere prologue, flashes of greatness, the rise of contenders, the stumbling of giants. But now, week 3 arrives, and the stage grows heavier, under the glow of the lights and the roar of tens of thousands. Every mistake cuts deeper. Every triumph echoes louder. This is where underdogs arise from the shadows, where dynasties shine upon their thrones, and where the line between dream and nightmare can vanish in a single snap. The air is electric, the tension is palpable, and destiny calls louder than ever. This isn't just Saturday football. This is the battlefield where seasons are defined and legends are written into immortal stone. Welcome to Virtual Recall's Week 3 recap and Week 4 look ahead. So as always, sit back, enjoy, and let's log on. Off in the early slate, in a plethora of many great games, we get to recap today. Georgia Tech delivers a gritty performance against Dabo & Co. in Atlanta and get a signature win early into the season for Coach Brent Key with what can only be described as a Chinese fire drill field goal in the dying seconds. The Yellow Jackets have evolved from their Neanderthal ways of the past and run a way more complex offense that far exceeds the wing T. If the year were 2016 and I told you Georgia Tech had a QB that consistently throws 200 a game, you tell me, nah, you're talking about that team in Athens. As for Clemson, Kate Klubnik is shitting on his NFL draft stock left, right, and center after yet what can only be described as another more to be desired performance from Clemson. They might be this year's we are who we thought they were team, and Dabo has been caught with his hands in the litter box so far this year, and there's a lot of shit in that box.
Oh, poor old Dabo. Ain't gonna win no more.
Georgia Tech, man, got to hand it to them. They had a hell of a game plan coming in. They strangled Clemson as much as they could. Yeah, hell of a game. Coach Brent Key, that guy, man, he is a ballsy motherfucker. That's all I can say. He has balls the size of this damn house I'm in.
Yeah, they got a good hefty fine for storming the field, but hey, I think that they'll take that and it's worth it. It was well deserved.
I've been saying it. I've been saying it. Brent Key is the right guy for the job, and Georgia Tech has the right pieces, I believe. I'm not going to say there's some perennial powerhouse contender or whatever, but I'm also going to say Georgia Tech, man, they are not a team to be trifled with. They never have been, but I honestly, especially right now, I can honestly tell you Georgia Tech is definitely not a team to go in sleepwalking on.
Possible playoff contender? Maybe.
You know, they could find themselves in one of those late slots. You know, I don't see them win the ACC over FSU or Miami. That 100%, I don't see that. But they could be one of those late, like, just barely making it in, or on the cusp of making it in.
I mean, hey, if fucking Boise State or SMU can do it, hey, so can they.
Not a lot to recap, except I am happy to report I did not find myself walking out at halftime to go grab the heaviest drink this side of the Mississippi I could find at the Houndstooth outside of Bryant Denny. The team looked all on the same page and took care of business against the Badgers from the very first snap. Ty Simpson looks to be getting comfortable, and Ryan Williams had his first 100-plus yard game since Georgia last year, plus his first touchdown since Mercer last year. The defense generated pass rush for 4 sacks, and Bray Hubbard, the white menace, shined with 2 interceptions plus some gnarly hits. I'm not sold to say, yep, we're back, but the ultimate eye test will be in 2 weeks in Athens. Looking at Wisconsin, all I can say is Luke Fickell might have made a mistake making the jump from Cincy to Madison when he did, because the Badgers have not had a significant win over the likes of a perennial contender since 2010 when they took down Tressel's tattoo gang from Columbus.
I don't like how he left Cincy because he had a really good thing going at Cincy. He actually took them to like the playoffs and everything. They got slammed. But I feel like he had a good thing going in Cincy, and he just took it and just threw it away. And they've been crawling back, but I guarantee you if he would have stayed, Cincy would probably be one of those Big 12 contenders.
I could have definitely seen him waging war in the Big 12 with Cincy. Moving on over to good old Kirby Top. Kirby Smart and the Dogs claw back late for a win over Tennessee, making it 9 straight wins over the Vols for Coach Smart. This game would have been anyone's win to take if there were anyone else not named the Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee came out slinging with a fast 21-7 lead and a railing Georgia defense with the response equivalent to a 6-year-old saying "nuh-uh" in an argument. All signs were pointing that this be the year they would finally sing good old Rocky Top to the heavens as they'd send those dirty mutts packing back on down to the Peach State until the Bulls started volunteering again. You would like me to stop scoring so you could take a 27 to 21 lead? Of course. Only because you asked so nicely. Oh, you don't want me to score a touchdown off excellent field position from a strip fumble? Oh, you. You're just so kind-hearted by worrying about the amount of DUIs Georgia players will commit after this. Then, Tennessee would go on to make the ultimate act of service by agreeing to shank a chip shot field goal that would have ended 9 years of pain-inducing, moonshine downing, and anguish across the Volunteer State. Furthermore, hitting the same exact in overtime, the same distance, same angle damn near. He hit that same field goal in overtime, but in overtime, guess what? Georgia still had another possession, and guess what Georgia did right after? They scored a touchdown and won the game. So all I can say is Georgia sure is lucky to have good friends up north, I tell you.
Yeah, aren't they so kind, those Tennessee Volunteers on old Rocky Top? So kind that they just handed the win to them on a silver platter, pretty much. And I was kind of hopeful because I picked Tennessee, and I'm like, oh shit, I might actually get a good, decent, little close win here. And when he made that field goal in overtime, I'm like, man, to be a Tennessee fan and see that, it must have been infuriating. I sure hope that man has some good security over there in Knoxville.
Moving on down to the Lone Star State, I believe the Longhorns have a problem, an Arch Manning problem. The Arch Manning hype has come to a screeching halt with an abysmal performance against little UTEP. They still won. Yes, the Longhorns did win 27-10, but Arch Manning had an amazing stat line of 11 of 25. So he threw for 44%. 44% of his passes were complete. That's awful. And for those 44% of those passes, he only had 114 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. I've said it before, and I'm saying it here again. Just because that name is on the back of that jersey, it doesn't mean everything from the past comes with it. Texas is in trouble, big trouble. But you know what they say. Everything is bigger in Texas, so I guess that does include disappointments.
You know what? The Heisman race is over. Give it to him. You know what? Fuck it. Excel his career right now. Put him in the wall in Canton right now. Off to Canton you go. Shine, Manning.
Getting back up north to the Buckeye State.
Oh.
The Buckeyes beat Ohio, but far from an impressive outing. The final score will be 37-9, but in all reality, that score is not indicative of what that game actually became. QB Julian Sayin would throw 2 interceptions, and the team only led 13-3 at half. More to be seen with higher competition coming to Columbus because their signature with quotation, heavy quotation win over Texas is looking more and more fraudulent with their recent outings.
Yeah, especially with how Archie Manning's been performing and how Texas as a whole has been performing. It's starting to look like that win against Texas isn't as cracked up as it was hyped up to be in the preseason.
Going on down to College Station, back to the Lone Star State. Texas A&M pulls it off late in South Bend due to the luck of the Irish seeming to have ran out dry for Notre Dame. A&M would find themselves in a firefight against the Irish in a back-and-forth effort, scoring on a last-second 4th-and-goal prayer. Notre Dame made a monumental mistake on the touchdown prior by bobbling the snap on the PAT, making it only 40-34. So the big reason why, though, I'm not shitting on the Irish completely for being 0-2 is when you look at both of their losses, they were against quality opponents, and they were all but a few short plays of those being very, very different results. Now, if they drop next week against Purdue, you better bet I have a Godzilla-sized nuclear shit for them to shit all over them on. As for Texas A&M, bravo to Coach Elko and QB Marcel Reed fighting to the finish. I believe more to come from College Station as the season goes on.
Yeah, that Notre Dame game, especially towards like after halftime in the end, it was kind of frustrating to watch. Seeing as Notre Dame kind of like had moments where they're about ready to like storm back, but then they just like fell apart. Then they do an improvement. Then the second that improvement, they go 3 steps backwards, and A&M would capitalize on it and everything. And I mean, it was a good back and forth game, like you said, but they're still ranked in the top 25 and being 0-2, and it's like, I know they're like close games against quality opponents, but like you said, if even if they win against Purdue, if it's like a small margin of victory against Purdue, I think they'll fall out of the rankings because they can't be like a top 25 team doing that stuff, in my opinion.
Head on down to the land of Cajuns and gumbo. LSU takes care of business against the Gators. Florida doesn't have a single set of problems, but rather a playing football in general problem. DJ Lagway threw 5 interceptions against a Tiger defense doing their best 2011 impression. I'm saying it right here, right now. Billy Napier better hop on Indeed and start putting in applications to Billy Bob's School for the Blind and Deaf coaching positions, because this year was his last chance following the coattails of last year's late season success. Looking on the opposite sideline, LSU has a good defense so far early into the year, which is highly opposite of what has been the scenario the last couple of years. But their strong marketable point has been sleeping after 3 really lackluster performances, and that's their offense. Clemson and Florida is one thing, but they had the same problem last week against Louisiana Tech. And now, also with Clemson's recent performances, that win on the road is looking more fraudulent than Brian Kelly's accent.
I think LSU, honestly, like, I'm not sure, I don't see them winning the SEC at all, but I believe that they can clinch maybe one of those good, decent bowl games, or maybe one of the lower playoff seeds. And that's if they don't find a way to shoot themselves in the foot.
Now, as for the sad news for college football this last weekend. Folks, Vandy shows you can't take the cock out of the libido, but you can take the libido out of the cock. Lenora Sellers gets taken out early with a helmet-to-helmet collision, suspecting a possible concussion, and South Carolina was down on arrival from there. The 12-year vet Diego Pavia takes care of business for the Commodores and leads them to yet another upset victory. Tell you what, Vandy looks to have themselves a very put-together squad this year. Their next big test will be in 3 weeks. Their opponent is in Alabama at Bryant-Denny. As for the Gamecocks, it is safe to say they are not prescribed their blue pill without Lenore Sellers, and their season rides on his shoulders.
Yeah, the poor old Gamecocks, they fought long and hard, but this week they came up short. And the thing is, it was at South Carolina too, and they were the number 11 team in the country. And like I said, with my picks on the last week and everything, when I picked Vanderbilt, and sure enough, here's Vanderbilt. They're in the top 25, and they could be the playing spoiler for a lot of the big SEC teams like Alabama, or if they played Georgia. I'm not sure if they played Georgia, but any of the contending teams for like the playoffs or the SEC championship, y'all better watch out for Vanderbilt. They could play spoiler on you, as was demonstrated with South Carolina.
Just to combat your point, right? Had Lenore Sellers been in the game?
Oh, it would have been different.
It could have definitely been different. But that really questions also for South Carolina, how far does their depth actually go? And it looks like it might not go that far. Luckily this week, Nico can get his freebie and finally get the Bruins on the win column. This is the week it all turns around for Nico. Let's take a sneak peek. And why is New Mexico up at the half? Okay. Relax. They'll get together and win this in the end. Surely they won't go 3 in a row. Right? UCLA lost 35-10 in their own house? I thought UNLV was hitting them a bit below the belt, but you lost against someone who you paid $1.2 million to get their ass beat, but instead beat your ass. Which, the way you and your state operates, just more debt to the deficit to charge your residents, I guess. Someone's going to have to answer for this, and someone did. And it wasn't their $8 million star riding the bench, but their head coach, Deshaun Foster, being given his walking papers. As for Nico, I'm about to fleece you. He did very little to prevent this, and UCLA enters their Big Ten slate with no wins and 0-12 staring them right in the face as a heavy possibility. This shit does not write itself, people. This is fucking awful. Jesus, get the fuck out of my face. Now, we got a nice mix of matchups this week. Unlike our heavy SEC slate last week, We have some Big Ten on Big Ten action, a little Big 12 on Big 12 action, one SEC on SEC action, and ACC versus SEC action. Starting off our week 4 game, number 17 Texas Tech at number 16 Utah. Now that's there in Salt Lake City. Can be a very, very difficult environment to play. Was out there for a while. But I will say, the way Texas Tech has been playing and the way Utah's been playing, looking at the two on the eye test, I gotta take the Red Raiders over Utah, even in Utah. So give me Texas Tech.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I don't think Utah doesn't have the strength to get over Texas Tech, and I think Texas Tech is running too hot right now. So I'll take the Raiders as well.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech. Their big thing this year was they definitely used the NIL portal. They got a lot of players for the portal. So that's definitely showing, because I can't tell you the last time I actually saw Texas Tech ranked and undefeated this early into the season.
I think the quarterback was Patrick Mahomes probably at the time. But hey, it's a guy who can throw a football.
A certain number 15 in Kansas City. Going on down to Norman. We got the number 22 Auburn Tigers at the number 11 Oklahoma Sooners. For me, this one was kind of tough to pick because I see Auburn. They're actually doing good things this year. Hugh Freeze looks to maybe have gained his step. But I tell you what, Brett Venables, that defense, that environment, Boomer Sooner, yes, sir, give me Oklahoma.
I'm taking the Sooners too, for the simple fact, I mean, if it was at Auburn, I probably would have maybe give like a slight favor to the Tigers, but with it being at Oklahoma and seeing how good they took care of that Michigan squad and everything when they came in, with that home environment and like I said, their defense, I think that will put a big ol' wrench into Auburn's hot streak and everything that they've been somehow pulling out of their ass. So I'm going with the Sooners.
Possible revenge game though there, because you do have Auburn starting QB, right? Jackson Arnold. He was the Oklahoma QB last year. So be a little interesting there. Moving on over to the Midwest. Number 9, Illinois, the Fighting Illini at the number 19 Indiana Hoosiers. These are two teams that sometimes it's hard for me to actually. There's a lot of teams this year when I do look in the top 25, and I'm like, never in my lifetime did I think I would see these certain teams, right, ranked. And these are two of those teams. And I got to give it to Coach Brett Bielema in Illinois. Give me the Fighting Illini. They're going to run business because I think Indiana is very fraudulent being in the top 25.
Man, we're just agreeing all week this week. So I'm also taking the Fighting Illini for the simple fact I think, other than the Big Ten powerhouse teams like the Penn States, the Ohio States, the Oregons, and the Michigans and everything, like in the other like sub level of the Big Ten and everything, that where they're not like the greatest on turf, but yet they're not like utter dog water. Illinois and Indiana are in that little area, but I think Illinois has the edge over Indiana, even though it's at Indiana. And I think this will be Indiana's first like real test to see if they can still hang in there from last year's success that they had. And who knows, Indiana might pull off the upset, but I don't see that happening. I see Illinois taking care of business in Indiana.
I don't see Indiana's squad being a squad that can handle a 60-minute matchup of a brutal pro style, line it up, and just jam the ball and run the ball down their throat style that Brett Bielema runs, that Illinois is running. So, yeah, no, give me Illinois all the way. Moving on back down to the Sunshine State. We have Florida at number 4, Miami. Big rivalry game, I know, and the answer is pretty obvious. And yeah, the answer is what is the obvious answer I am going to choose. Don't get me wrong, though. I believe this game can be a lot closer than it might indicate because, like I said, this is a big rivalry game. And the Gators and the Canes don't like each other. But I got to give it. Carson Beck is going to keep on rolling. And he's going to take care of business in South Beach against Florida. So give me Miami.
I am also going with Miami because even if it was at Florida, I don't, with how dysfunctional the Gators have been this season, I don't see them winning like anything meaningful if it's like San Diego Community College for the deaf and blind or whatever. That'll be their only hope for a meaningful victory. And with, like I said, Carson Beck, he's actually having great success in Miami. I'm going with Miami.
Now, for our final matchup, we have number 21 Michigan at Nebraska. What makes this matchup very, very interesting, right? You have a 2-1 Michigan squad. They got their shit kicked in by Oklahoma pretty badly. I don't want to say pretty badly, but the score might not seem pretty badly, but Oklahoma was in control of that game from the very get-go. And you have a Nebraska squad that is still like vying. They're foaming. They're just seething for a victory, right? A big time victory in the Big Ten. And it's in their house. And I can honestly bet you if Nebraska wins this game, they'll be 4-0. They will be in a ranked team. Nebraska will at least be ranked somewhere in the 20s. But I am going to say the Cornhuskers are going to Cornhusker and they're going to shit the bed and giving Michigan in that run game and a solid defensive performance. Michigan will take control of the game from the very get-go. Give me Michigan. Go Blue.
And it looks like this week we're all on the same page because I'm also picking the Wolverines for the simple fact that I believe that, like you said, I don't see Nebraska doing something against Michigan because I mean, like Michigan's only loss was at Oklahoma, and you see how well Oklahoma's doing. They're the number 11 team in the country, and Michigan and everything. I mean, they had some hiccups with their quarterback and everything, and they're trying to get him acclimated. And after that wonderful tune-up game that they had this past Saturday, getting everything all tuned up, I believe that they're going to go into Nebraska and just, like you said, just control it from the very get-go and just put all of Nebraska on notice. Say, hey, you ain't ready for the top 25 yet, kid. Go back to the basement for a little bit longer. You know what I mean? So, Wolverines all the way on that one.
I hate to say it, guys, for our fans out in Lincoln. You have some time still until you can come sit at the grown-ups table.
Should have never left the Big 12.
That could be a whole video on itself about how Nebraska should have never left the Big 12.
And with that, that concludes Virtual Recoil's 2025 Week 3 recap and Week 4 look ahead. Comment down below on who you think will impress the most and drop the most this week. As always, like, subscribe, and don't forget to lock on. See y'all later.